The 2024-25 NHL season is right around the corner, and it looks as though Calgary Flames General Manager Craig Conroy is done making deals. Or is he? There are still a few trades and signings that the Flames could make that fit perfectly into the plans for the future. We're going to break some of that down, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I am Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family. Without further ado, let's hop straight in and talk about potentially some smart trades that the Flames could make going into next season. Now, we do a lot of trade rumors on this channel, of course, some of them way more legit than others, of course. I mean, some of them have come to fruition. Look at what happened with Markstrom, with Tanev, with Hanifin, with Mangiapane, and more. And, you know, we've had some that totally haven't. Huberdeau, Andersson, etc. But we have a very good article that this one's going to be based around, and it is Burning Questions. Flames beat reporters recap summer storylines, discuss PTO targets. It's from Wes Gilbertson and Daniel Austin of the Calgary Herald. It is from a couple days ago, and we're not going to break down the whole article. However, if you want to go take it, if you want to go read it, I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. It is very, very good. But we're just going to focus on a couple of questions here. The first one being, what, if anything, does Craig Conroy have up his sleeve between now and the start of training camp in mid-September? So there are some things that the Flames could potentially do here that Conroy could do to either make the team better now or make them better for the future, which of course we would prefer the latter. But here's what Gilbertson had to say to that question. Conroy has made it clear both in media interviews and undoubtedly in conversations with his counterparts around the league that if you need to be bailed out of salary cap jail, he is willing to help. For a price, of course. With nearly $20 million American in available wiggle room, the Flames are a perfect partner for a salary dump, and Conroy is ready to dance. And I know that this type of deal is exactly what most Flames fans would like to see. We've seen other teams do a little bit of it. We've seen the Sharks do it. You know, they're in a very similar situation as the Flames right now. They're arguably even worse than us, of course, but they don't have quite as much cap room. So the Flames could do something here. I know a lot of fans have been saying it for months that they want to see one of these types of trades happen, kind of because it happened to us with Sean Monahan and the Montreal Canadiens, but it would be nice to see it go the other way. In these types of trades, the appeal is not the player that you're receiving, exactly, but the sweetener to take on the remainder of their contract. The best examples this summer have come out of San Jose, there you go, with the Sharks pocketing a pair of draft picks, 1 second and 1 third rounder, as thanks for adding Jake Wallman and Cody Ceci to their payroll. It feels like only a matter of time before Conroy makes a similar swap. And there are names that have been being thrown around quite a bit over the summer. I mean, Patrick Laine was one of them, and he ended up getting dealt, of course, to the Montreal Canadiens. Man, they love doing these kinds of deals, no matter which way they see it. But either way, San Jose has done some good stuff here. I think they could have got more for what they did. I mean, Cody Ceci, that was a huge help to Edmonton, honestly. And Jake Wallman coming from Detroit, it was interesting as well. But I would love to see the Flames do this kind of trade. And I did find a good example, or at least a good partner. And it comes from the Hockey Writers, and it is this little bit of an article here. So Flames aggressively strengthened blue line in this type of trade. The Calgary Flames are retooling and essentially traded every veteran on their roster not tied to a long-term contract. That's not fully true. As you can tell, this didn't come from a Flames writer. It came from an Islanders writer. But either way, we, of course, still have Huberdeau. We have Weegar. We've got Kadri, Coleman. Guys, veterans on long-term contracts. But either way, with a lot of young skaters playing major roles, this is a team that can go either way this season. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's true. Say they overachieve and are having a great season. Suddenly, the timeline changes and they can accelerate things by adding a veteran to their defense. The two players who can play that role are Adam Pelech and Ryan Pulock. Ideally, the Islanders won't move either defenseman. They are both staples of the unit and are pivotal to a successful season. At the same time, Pelech and Pulock have long-term contracts the Islanders would like to get out of, especially if the best hockey from both is in the past. So there you go. The way this article starts make it sound like The Flames should add these players so that they can be good. But then it gets into what we're actually talking about here. It's a contract or contracts that the Isles wouldn't want. These guys probably have their best hockey behind them. It would essentially be a cap dump in a way. But let's continue. The question is, when would this type of deal, which is a unique one, happen? It wouldn't happen in the offseason with the Islanders looking to compete and Pelech and Pulock being essential parts of the roster. If memory serves, the Isles did make the playoffs this past season, didn't they? Did they get swept by Carolina or something? Either way, it wasn't a long playoffs. But it's interesting. They've got a tough conference, of course, a tough division. So I don't know. I don't think the Islanders are ready to contend. Maybe they'll make a trade like this sooner rather than later. But either way. Pelech or Pulock must play great, the Islanders must struggle, and the Flames must be ahead of schedule and playing great, so it's unlikely it happens, but worth keeping in mind. And even if not all of those variables do end up taking place, a trade could still potentially happen. It's also worth noting that if the Flames are continuing to retool, they might take on a Mayfield contract. They'd only do it if they could add a prospect as well, but it could be a great move for all sides involved. I think for the Flames, that might be the best case scenario, is doing it for Mayfield. Mayfield, he's kind of like the other two, but it's a contract the Isles would love to get rid of. The Flames can afford it for the rest of its term, and it wouldn't be the worst case scenario to bring that on, especially, of course, if we did add a really good prospect or a high pick for it while taking on that whole contract, essentially for future considerations. But let me know what you think down below. Should the Flames do one of these cap dumps, and what are some really good examples of what they could do? Now let's get into the second question here and talk about maybe a free agency finale. So as we know, the Flames haven't done all that much in free agency, and that of course is the plan. We don't need to be spending big bucks on long-term contracts that have high AAVs. The Flames offseason has been amazing so far if you include the draft in that free agency and these trades. But either way, here's the question. The Flames remain adamant about providing opportunity for youngsters, but is there anybody left on the free agency market that you would target on a bargain contract or a PTO? So here it's saying, look, we should be giving maybe a lot of time to the youngsters, giving them a shot. If you look at the projected lineup, there's not a whole lot of youngsters in there. So it'll be interesting to see who does end up getting a shot and maybe making the lineup for this season. Kind of like what Connor Zary and Martin Pospisil did last year. But either way, let's see what Gilbertson had to say. He said, "This one is tricky because I scan the list and see a lot of what the Flames have enough of already. Left shot wingers and right-handed defensemen. But how about Steve Lorentz, one of the names freshly engraved on the Stanley Cup? The 28-year-old could provide depth at the center position and would set a positive example for the kids while not necessarily blocking their path to the big leagues. I mean, if he was playing a good 82 games, it might be blocking their path slightly. If it's a short-term contract, maybe. But either way, I'm not too attached to the idea. But either way, let's continue here. Right winger Kailer Yamamoto could also be an interesting target. He's still only 25, and we know from his days with the Oilers that there is plenty of offensive ability in that pint-sized package. You'd be buying low on Yamamoto, who put up underwhelming numbers last season in Seattle, managing just 8 goals and 16 points in 59 games. We've talked about Yamamoto a little bit on the channel before. Again, I'm not too married to the idea of picking up Yamamoto. If it were on a PTO and he somehow played amazing, sure, why not? But then you have to think, who is he taking a roster spot away from? Is he really going to be in our plans for the future? Not necessarily. And just the fact that he got called a pint-sized package. I mean, I know that height doesn't measure heart, and there have been some amazing smaller guys, but I don't know if Yamamoto has quite the skill to back that up. So I don't love this idea per se. Let's wrap this up with Austin's answer. He said, go back to May of 2023 when Conroy was being introduced as the Flames GM, and he said this: I think in past years, as we've gotten close to training camp, we filled up roster spots with veteran players, and I think my goal is to let these young guys battle it out and fight for it and see if they can do it. Yes, Conroy, we love that idea. It's about time we have that in Calgary. Now Conroy has dealt away a lot of veterans since then, and there isn't any shortage of opportunity for the young talent in the Flames system this year, so maybe that has changed. I'd love to say the Flames should take a shot at a guy like Filip Zadina, who has been labeled as a flop since being selected 6th overall in the 2018 NHL draft. But as Wes said, the Flames aren't exactly short of left shot wingers. I don't see any other obvious fits out there right now. Now, while Zadina, however you want to say it, does still kind of have some potential. Again, not loving that idea. I really think the Flames should just remain quiet on the free agency market. If they are still to do some sort of transactions this summer, I'd much rather see a cap dump trade. But we'll just have to wait and see what does end up happening, of course. Now let's wrap up this video with the comment of the day, as we love to do here on the channel. And this one has to do with the last video that was uploaded, and it comes from our regular guitar memoir. And they said, the more I hear the rumors, the more I wonder if Razzie wants a trade. We went from 5 Swedes to just 2, and from a semi-playoff team to a rebuilder. Plus, Razzie lost his roomie and best friend on the Flames when we traded Monge. If we trade him, we would get a haul, but our defense would be bottom 3 in the league. It does make sense to trade Andersson in certain ways if, you know, the goal really is to tank and go for the future. However, Andersson could be here for the long run, but it has since been somewhat reported that if Andersson is to be traded, it will be his call, which again, I don't love giving all the power to the player, but at the same time, if he wants out, he wants out. We've let everyone else go out when that has been the case, so why not do it again here? Again, we'll just have to wait and see what does end up happening with Rasmus Andersson. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you like what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.